You know, one of the things that's happening in Lake County, and I would just like to put this on the table so that everybody can see this, and Dr. Eyler knows this. We're actually doing a lot of these things right now. And we're looking at the large building in Lucerne. We call it the Castle. We're looking at a partnership there. Has a lot of the pieces that we're talking about. We're looking at from the standpoint of the lake science. There's UC Davis is actually working on a project. Southern California Coastal Water Research Project is looking at coming in on a project. There's many pieces, and we would love to have University of Santa Barbara. So there's a lot of pieces that are already working, and somewhere they're going to land. So I just wanted you to know that a lot of this stuff is going on. There's also a piece on hospitality that may wind up here. That is in the works. If it works, then of course it'll look like we followed this pathway perfectly. But every one of these things clearly is the right way to go. And there's other pieces, those other things, as JFK used to say, we should do those as well. The lake clearly is the focal piece, the centerpiece for the county. And if you wanted to talk about what's different in Lake County as opposed to anywhere else in North and South America, we have the oldest, most significant lake warm water ecosystem, and oldest, I say, by virtue of hundreds of thousands of years in both North and South America, because we're totally within a unique setting here in the intercoastal range, and it keeps that lake alive because of the plate tectonics. So at the end of the day, this is a perfect place to study, and it has been going on for years, and they can sit on top of that body of work and move lake science forward. So Dr. Eyler has hit everything on the mark, just as we expected him to, and we're looking back thinking we're not bad off. We are pretty much going in the right direction, so we hope to see this happen. Like we say, just about ready to spring. Just as the economics turn down, we're going to be moving forward. Positive message all around. Anyone else?
Good afternoon, everybody. Moke Simon, District 1 Supervisor. Sorry, I got a little bit of cold I'm dealing with, but yeah, I just want to thank everybody that was on the committee and everything moving forward. So really appreciate all the hard work and the vision for the long-term stuff. I think from the board standpoint, coming on board as a new supervisor, looking at the long-term strategy is something that I've been preaching from day one. I know I had plenty of time with Carol Hutchinson when I first went to the first CSAC training of looking at the long-term vision for Lake County. And I'm glad to say the 2028 revisiting strategy is something that is right in line with this report. I think we are moving in the direction to really change things here in Lake County. I think from a board standpoint, I take it personally responsible when projects or things in my district or across the county are coming in, that we look at it in a positive light and we start to make decisions as a full board to really show the businesses that are looking at Lake County as opportunity, that we're willing as a board to step forward for our communities and make decisions in a positive manner. And I think that's where we really come in as the role players in this vision moving forward. I appreciate everybody's hard work, but I really like the theme of looking 5 years ahead, not 5 years behind. We've done a great job, like I've said from year one, setting up the agricultural industry here, the wineries, everything that come along with that. But we've also made some recent decisions where we could add food venues in there, but it also carries on to how do we keep those folks here with the agritourism. The hotel situation is in this report very clearly that we need to be able to develop that. We need to create the staff here locally through our colleges and other things as we move forward with that industry. And I think we're right on path. So I appreciate the path you've given us. You know, coming from the tribal side, you're always on a path and a vision to make your community better. And this is a great one right here. And as long as we start walking the walk and making the decisions as a board, we are definitely going to change this over the next 2 decades on how this county is perceived throughout the state of California. It's also important from our point of view from the board to be making those relationships. There's a new governor going to be taking over in this office. We need to make sure that they understand the focus that we have here to take care of our community members and to bring the light on one of the poorest counties in the past as we've been, but coming into the future of how we're going to work our way out of that and what we're going to do strategically and business-minded to make sure that we take care of those things. So I think relationships at the state of California at the Capitol are going to be very important in this vision to make sure that they know we're working our way out of this. We don't want a handout. we want a hand up and a partnership so we can keep moving things forward for the positively for everybody here in this county. So thank you very much for being here today. Always open to talk about projects myself. If I haven't talked to you about a project or mentioned something, it's always something on my mind. I made a point, 2 weeks ago at our board meeting, we talked about new industries. I know cannabis is a new industry. As you said, it's very volatile. It's going to change over the years. But if you're going to encourage an industry, you need to make sure that you have all parts so we don't get the leakage like Robert talked about here and those types of things. But that goes for all industries that may be coming in here. I think something new that I had never known about in my district, you have the glamping project that Six Sigma has stepped up and done. I think it's phenomenal for our area and that opportunity. But it's that outside of the box thinking that is really going to get us to be a shining star in Northern California. So that's what I have to say. Thank you for being here today, coming out as a community, coming together, and really working on this strategy. So thank you very much, everyone.
Well, while I have the mic, I'll take a minute. This is great to have somebody come and tell us all the things we need to hear. The biggest thing we need to do over the next 5 years is take advantage of it. This has happened in the past, and we haven't taken advantage of what we were told then, not as completely as we should have. We need to take something like this and run with it. We have great possibilities in Lake County. We just have to let everybody know, and the message should go all out there that we all believe the same thing. And that's why both cities and the county need to get together and do one message. Because there's been so many messages over the years that just have gotten out there and has been harmful to Lake County. So something that I've preached at the board for ever since I've been on the board and on the city council, I was on the city council 20 years ago, is when you invite people over, what's the first thing you do around home? Clean the house, make sure everything looks good. We need to do that in the entire Lake County. When we invite people up, we want them to come in, we want them to see a beautiful area, and to me that's one of the most important things we can possibly do. We need to clean up Lake County. The person, I don't remember his name, that we had years ago that came up and did some economic development for us, Roger Brooks, came to Lake County and said, this should be called Blue Tarp County, because that's all he saw. That was his first impressions. So we need to get those first impressions to where they come in and go, what a beautiful place. There's so many things to do, and we can do that real easily. And the other thing we've done is we've turned businesses down in the past. The city of Clearlake went through a huge deal a number of years ago. There should be a brand new shopping facility at the old airport property right now. That was pretty much shot down, not by the city, but by outside folks that made a big deal out of it. And we need to encourage business, and we're building beautiful roads in Santa Rosa, Ukiah, because of the sales tax dollars we're spending over there. We need those businesses here so the sales tax dollars stay here. Thank you.
The only thing I would like to add is I like the whole having one message, that all the cities, the county having the message, positive message. And I think that's one thing that we need to work on as a county, is having a positive message about ourselves. Because I think we do a lot of damage to ourselves when we continue to talk negative about Lake County. Because I know for myself, when I moved here, that's all I had heard about Lake County is all the negative. I didn't hear anything positive. So that's something we need to work as a community, is pushing that positive message about who we are, because we are an amazing place. We just need to continue to see that and let people know about it.
So I'm looking around the room. My name is Bruno Sabatier, mayor of Clearlake. I'm looking around the room and I see people who have abilities to participate in everything that we've looked at here and everything that we're all already involved in. This builds hope. This builds a track that we can follow so we can get to where we want to be. And something I'm still trying to learn is the patience behind it, because nothing can happen overnight. Nothing is, next year we're not going to see this come to fruition. But we need to stay positive and we need to stay diligent to keep on the same mission we've decided to start on. And we need to make sure to communicate that with everyone we know, because those who are not in the room do not understand possibly the amount of time it's going to take for us to get there. And we need to make sure people want to continue to support the mission that we've decided to take on, because it is going to take a while. People are going to ask questions, why are things not changing? I see this all the time in Clearlake. I feel we're changing a lot in Clearlake, but we're not. It was just told to us, we're starting from behind. We know this. And so when we're starting from behind, it's going to take a little bit more time for us to get our ducks in a row in order to get to the conclusion we're looking for. And I think that's what we really need to always be diligent about, is staying positive about the mission we're on and always working towards communicating with everyone we know. The more the word is out there, the more the knowledge is out there, the more people will want to support what it is that we're doing and understand what it is that we're doing. Because I think a lot of it is so in the not in the back rooms, but it's so behind the radar that that most people don't understand or see it. And I think that's our job, every single one of us in the room, not just those that are elected officials, to make sure and let everybody know what it is that we're doing and what the timelines are and when things should happen. I'm part of the marketing committee for the city of Clearlake, Joyce Overton as well. And this is something we've been trying to work on, and I think we're going to bring this right back to our marketing committee and figure out how it is that, what have we been doing and where does it fit into these pieces, and then what can we change to better market ourselves and better promote ourselves for exactly the same reasons that were written up there. So I think there's a lot of things that we can take from this to bring to our own nonprofits, our businesses, and our agencies, and then also the collaborative piece. That's probably one of the most important pieces, is how do we work together so we're not still working in silos, so we can make sure that we all move together as one. So thank you very much for this report. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Dr. Eyler, thank you very much for that report. It's I can't say I've read it page by page by page, but I've been through it time pretty well, and you've hit on some of the most important points. That obviously we need to sell our quality of life here, and we need to be positive. We always need to be getting the positive message out. That's something that I think I see in Clearlake already. We've started to really start to clean our city up. We're improving our roads. We're doing all of those things that we need to do to bring business in. You call Clearlake an opportunity zone. We have, as Jeff was talking about, we had the old airport project. It's still there. We're starting to heat that up again and push that. We need to keep that going, and I think that fits right into that strategy that you have. Along with that, our tourism industry. We have all these natural resources. We have this huge body of water right in the middle of our county. All of our cities, or two cities, all of our communities around the lake need to really, I believe, push that and welcome people in to get that tourism back for the lake. And our ag tourism, close to my heart, I think is a great opportunity to expand the tourism industry in Lake County.
Nick Bennett from Clearlake. I applaud what's presented here today. I grew up in Lake County in the 1950s. We're never going back to there. And we don't need to, because that was a different time, a different era. We do need to look forward. Everything needs to look forward. And it needs to be a collaboration between the county and the cities and the communities. You know, I have a home down at, we talk about, Jeff brought up, or somebody about splitting the blue tarp area and cleaning up our county. My wife's from Jalisco in Mexico, and I have a nephew down there who said the biggest problem with Mexico is nobody cares. When they finish eating something, it just goes on the ground. It's trashed, and you know we live in it's not an expat community. I'm going to go around for miles, but that's the attitude many people here have, and we need to clean that up. We need to change that attitude, bring a collaboration between all of our governments and all of our community to move forward and look forward, not behind. And you learn, you know, even at my age, you learn something new every day. And that's what we need to get out to this, to our whole county, and have them move it forward with us.
I've been hearing about the potential recession coming up. You called it the recession. Not much of a potential there in that wording. Before it was the housing market that kind of led to a bunch of other, that was the domino effect starting from there. What can we do to prepare ourselves? What does your crystal ball say will be something that maybe we can make changes today to have less of a hurt coming in the future? Because we are still coming out of the recession here in Lake County rather than have overcome the downturn. We just haven't hit that level that we were at. And so if there's anything we can do to prepare ourselves to less be hurt by this upcoming recession, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on that.
Sure. So in quick order, if you follow this path, the one thing about it is you'll find ways of shaping around it. Meaning, for one, if the urban areas of California are the place where you'd see the center of the downturn, there will be some flight away of people and businesses. Don't think Facebook or Google or Amazon are going to move here, but there are thousands of smaller businesses and hundreds of thousands of people who want to now leave the urban area because 10 years have gone by and try to find a different quality of life, but potentially still utilize those networks globally in a place that they can do that. Those opportunities will happen as the recession, I shouldn't say the recession, because just a sidebar, that was one person saying it. There are no other predictions of recession before 2020 that I've seen yet, but assuming that one is coming, because one will, the way you do it is you look for opportunities where you think the most flight or the most obvious low-cost strategy is for that entity to decide on coming to you. So while you're doing your thing, you can look at those opportunities and try to jam the two together and shape around the recession rather than just get hit by it. But a lot of communities struggle with that. If you don't get that path laid down, you won't be ready for those opportunities when they arrive.
So I want to thank you and thank everybody for coming. A really short thing is people need to look at what Clearlake has been doing. I've sat on the council, I'm going into my 15th year here. And what I've seen is if you think positive, you will have positive. In the past, everything was so argumentative, and the councils weren't consistent. We weren't talking to counties. We weren't talking to cities. We were all we were the low end, they were the high end. It was a big controversial thing here. Now that we've all come together, in just a matter of years, we've been so successful. So it really is that you have to be positive. Everything about our city is positive. There's no negative out there anymore, and we see it in our community. The change with our council and our administration has changed our community. Everybody in this room probably lives in different areas. You can be part of that change. Don't take negativity. When somebody comes up to me and starts saying anything bad, it's like if you don't have a solution, then you're part of the problem. Those are the people that either, we don't mind leaving, go ahead, leave. If you're going to move, those are the people that need to move. But I've seen the positive change in Clearlake because of the positive of the leadership. And that's where it starts. You guys are our leaders. Obviously, you're here. Be the leader in every community that you live in.
Let me ask one question. Anybody in here in boots on the ground, retail business, raise your hand. That's what I thought. I'm going to tell you right now, the thing that concerns me the most in small retail businesses, and I'm worried about what's going to happen to small town Lake County, because we've had a 37.5% increase in the minimum wage. And I know in San Francisco and San Jose that making $8, $9, $10, $11 an hour is absolutely impossible to sustain. You can't live there. We are in a completely different area. As you pointed out, we have completely different issues. What I'm concerned about, and we've seen the revolving doors, the businesses coming and going. I haven't had a raise since 2004 because I've been raising my employees. And in my experience, I've been in Lake County since 1970. We had 65,000 people here. We still have about 65,000 people here. The growth is growing, and business is not necessarily growing. We lost 1,100 homes up in Cobb Mountain. My business went down 15% at Lakeview Market in the meat department because I lost all these customers. They're gone. Okay, so what I'm worried about is 37.5% increase in minimum wage at a lot of the businesses in Lake County, and it's going up again. I'm worried about short term, but we're talking right now, my wife and I are already working 7 days a week to stay in business. We're not for our catering business, we'd already be gone. Grocery retail profits in 2016, 1.1%. 1 cent out of every dollar is what they make at the grocery stores. Little stores make even less. We have about $500,000 worth of excess supply in grocery, and we're still putting in more Dollar Generals and other stores, which is fine. But the problem is the sustainability, and then we want to increase service and hospitality. My question is, I'm cutting my payroll by $1,000, which is about 2 full-time people. How do you maintain service levels? Service is already bad in most places. Lake County's got service issues. Number one, in 50 years, never seen a more disengaged, uncaring, cavalier group of employees in history. They are so entitled, no show, no come, no go, no phone, no show. It happens all the time. We are facing a serious issue with the absolute demolition of downtown America. And if you're thinking about talking about, come to our local shops and restaurants, in 5 years, they may not be there. You even said businesses we have now will be or may be gone. I think small town Lake County is in serious jeopardy because minimum wage needs to go up in the city, fine. You can't pay people, they have to drive in from 90 minutes away, on average in San Jose, to work there. That's the reality. You need to make $220,000 to buy a home there. We have all these benefits, but we've got some serious challenges. Small businesses are on their way out because minimum wage is killing the rural areas. We can't afford it, and we're paying people that are virtually, on average, incompetent. And the people that are making good money are already gone. That 11,000 people that are here, live here, are going somewhere else because they get more money already. So I'm worried about that. How do we maintain levels of service when we can't keep the number of people that we have now because we're going broke? That's my question.
I want to thank you, Dr. Eyler, for compiling so much community input and for using your expertise to synthesize the data that you're now putting before us today. What I'm really looking forward to is the question and answer period, because as I look through this room, I see people who are invested in almost every sector of what keeps Lake County running. And so I'm really glad that us electeds hadn't totally encroached on the question and answer period time, because I think that we've got some really good stuff. It's a unique opportunity to have this great a representation of Lake County all in one room. Thank you.
Yep. George Spur, City Council. I'm assuming you'll answer Kenny's question later.
I can answer right now if you want.
Go ahead.
So the two basic answers to your question is it's exacerbated by the fact we have a tight labor market on top of it. So not only are you going to struggle in, let's say, small town America, but specifically small town California, finding workers because basically they've already been cherry-picked to other places, but that the increase in the wage is being forced on you, where it's not thinking more differential, is something that you're saying, well, even if I try to pay you more, I still might not be able to find the right worker and get the productivity out of that worker because of the tight labor market. There is maybe some relief if we do see a little bit of a downturn. You'll get some better workers coming who will want the wage because there won't be another choice. But that tension's always going to be there. It's unfortunately it's context that's probably not leaving anytime soon. So there's not a great solution to that problem. The idea is that in a tight labor market, you won't find, even if you tried to pay more, you won't necessarily find the talent for that wage because it doesn't exist. I'm sorry, I didn't say it very well. The flip side of it is you might have to wait, and even then it's not necessarily a cure-all. It's a tough one.
So the other part of that I'd like to add to Kenny's is, we talked earlier about self-employed.
Yep.
Most of Lake County's business are owned by small business owners. That we can compete against each other. We can't compete against the government.
Yep.
At least Kenny, he's dealing with minimum wage issues and other government regulation. But in my business, I don't know of any other business where the state legislature is actually doing away with your business by legislation. So we can't compete against the government. That's our problem.
Yep. Yeah, what you can do is you can say no. So what you can say is you can have an attractive, business come to you.
I should have thought of that.
Well, yeah. Yeah, well, you're an elected, so there you go, right? So you can have a business come to you and say, I'm going to do all this stuff for you, right? And then you can actually say no to it because you want to protect smaller businesses that are already here. Which you can't fight, agreed. But what you can do is locally, you can make decisions that don't necessarily put specific types of small businesses at risk because there's a larger business that's coming in to wipe out that competition. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to misunderstand you.
Basically, on a positive note, We do have an AB 707 that's going to help clean up the lake supposedly. And so that's going to give us better tourism. And if we can get that message out that we have our government behind us to clean up our lake so that we have better tourism, that would be part of a good message for us. And the other thing that I thought was interesting in your speech here was bring in scientific. Well, we have dark skies. Let's bring in some people for the dark skies. Let's train these people in the Mendocino College for things that we do have that will bring in people. So that's a good positive note.
Mm-hmm.
So that's on a positive side. I try to live on the positive side.
I'm Stacy Matina of Lakeport City Council, and I want to thank the Lake County EDC for bringing this all together, because one thing that stands out to me is that I can't remember ever doing a joint meeting with all of us in many, many years, and bringing all of us together, all of you. There's so many talented people in the community. We're just so much more effective when we all come together. So I look at this as a new beginning, that we can forget about the blue tarps and just look to the future.
Tim Barnes, Lakeport City Council. I'm not going to say a whole lot because I want to hear what you have to say, but I really love the idea of all of us working together to bring up Lake County as one entity instead of it being us versus them. I think we're going to get so much further when we put everything in the hat together. So I really look forward to what this is going to become.
So at this time, we'd like to open it up to the public for question and answer. We'd like to designate, because we will stop hard at 11 a.m., about 3 minutes for each question and comment. So if you have a question or comment, please raise your hand, and we'll start over here with this gentleman.
Good morning. I wanted to thank you again for your excellent presentation. There is one, I think, significant puzzle piece. Maybe I wasn't paying attention, or maybe it wasn't addressed, but when you do bring a new business or new businesses into Lake County, what is the response on the part of the county when you come in? And I'm not asking this question in a vacuum. We've got two businesses we're trying to bring in right now, $1 million plus, fire rehab, creating employment and everything. And again, I have a little bit of experience. I was a planning commissioner for a number of years. I was really shocked and dumbfounded as to the barriers that are being put up. And I wonder if you had any recommendations about the way the county addresses people that want to come in and want to help, streamlining the process, appointing an ombudsman, whatever you think would be appropriate. Thank you.
I said this a little bit, and how the actual tactics of this strategy come out are going to be up to you politically, and there's no one fix that is going to fit, but you could do it where you say that for the targeted industries, we're going to streamline what you need. We're going to take those 25 sites and we're going to put them over here, and we're just going to set them up and ready to go. So if you want to come in, here's the path and here's the promised timeline to get it done. And everybody agrees that those 25 sites are going to have that timeline. And then that spins a story after that you actually executed on that timeline, and that's another attractant to come in. But you're right, you're very handcuffed as a municipality. You don't have a lot of tools in the toolbox. So you got to think politically, what are you willing to give up? If there are if there is some funding you're willing to put forward on that, specifically in making investments in infrastructure to get 25 or more sites ready to go, that's one way you can do it. But you're all going to have to wrangle with how to spend the money on the other side. There's no easy fix, and there's no one tool you can go to and say, this is the one way to do it. It's tough. But there are some small things, like, for example, committing to a permitting process or committing to costs for the developer or for the new business that you actually execute on again and again and again, to provide a positive story about doing business here that they'll reflect on, not you're reflecting on. That's another key piece.
Hi, I'm Jon Jensen from Lake County News. Been covering local news independently for more than a decade. And I know that there are binders in county building of economic plans, economic strategies, much like this one, that have been surfacing over the decades and left to collect dust. So I'm curious, aside from making sure that you get paid, where's the commitment to follow through?
I think in answer to that question, I'm not from Lake County. I moved here 2007 after getting out of the military, and started with a nonprofit organization helping veterans get into housing. And I've run into a lot of dead ends, a lot of roads that haven't happened. Since I've came here, I'm now the president of the United Veterans Council, And I've run into so many no's, so many people telling you, you can't do this, you can't do that. So to answer that question from them, it has to start with us. It has to start with the people in the room that are bringing solutions and bringing things to the council to say, this is what we're going to do. And when they say no, okay, how do we do it a different way? And it's not their responsibility to tell us how to do it. It's our responsibility to bring them things that they can take forward. Well, that's what I'm saying, that's what, from the veterans community, that's what's pushed us to do better, is we're constantly getting the no's. I mean, I know that the Board of Supervisors in the city of Clearlake had an 18-acre parcel that the state has said we don't have enough to support it. So we're doing other things to bring it back to them. And they're going to do their best to support us, but we, again, have to bring it to them. So I don't know. I know the commitment's there, but they're not going to do anything without us bringing stuff to them.
Hi, John Tompkins. I'm a trustee for the college, and I guess my question would be, what role can the college play in this role? And I would like to mention Steve here, who works for the college, and they're working on programs that may be helpful to what we're looking at today.
Thanks, John. So I'm Steve Hicks. I've had the pleasure of working with many of you in this room in the past, and I'm currently a business professor for Mendocino College, the Mendocino Lake Community College District. And I have a couple of positive things going, and this will help to, at least in a small way, address Mr. Parlette's concern. We've increased our customer service curriculum. We're offering a 3-unit customer service class at our Lake Center campus here in Lakeport this spring. So starting next month, you can enroll students in that. And the good news is probably 20% of the curriculum is about work ethic. Show up 5 minutes early, leave 5 minutes late, stay off your phone, and work for 8 hours. You wouldn't think you'd have to teach that, right? Well, we do. And we are also in the curriculum development phase for a hospitality and tourism course as well. So a couple of things going there. And we also do customer service training through our contract education department. And workforce development is really one of our key missions with the college. And so I'd encourage any of you to reach out to me, and I can get you in touch with the people that can help you with those types of objectives. And we're very proud to be part of Lake County. I also had the pleasure of serving as the administrator over our campus here for 3 years. So Lake County is really an undervalued gem in a lot of ways, and I think there's a lot of positive things in the future. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Judy Stahl. I'm a native of Santa Rosa. I moved with my husband to several other states, mostly in the Midwest. When my husband died, I chose to return to California, and Lake County was about the only place I could buy my way into. In coming here, I worked for a short period of time for the planning department. Initially, I had been hired with the idea that I would be able to continue work that I did in another state as a zoning official. I would enforce the zoning codes. I really would like to see that happen in Lake County, not just marijuana growing, but actually the blue tarps, which should be against zoning regulations. I don't know if they are. The current county codes are difficult to find a straight path through them. They're kind of scattered. Some of it's here, some of it's there, and then a contradiction over here overrides that's over there. So they're very difficult to follow. It would be great if the codes could be kind of aligned so that a person could read and understand them. But getting back to a zoning code official, if that could happen, I think, number one, the authority that I had back this was in Kansas, the authority I had was to issue a citation if the property didn't come within compliance after a specified period of time. The weight of it would be the same as a traffic ticket. So it's not like big, heavy jail time, but it gets people's attention. Number one, people know that their property's being looked at, which pretty much in Lake County, the general idea is go there, you can do anything, nobody's watching. So a zoning official that is looking at properties, residential as well as farming and commercial properties, puts that oversight mentality, hopefully removes some of the apathy about, well, it doesn't matter because nobody's doing anything. Just to have that oversight, I don't want to say threat, but that awareness that there is oversight throughout the population, I think would help a lot, because yes, this county is pretty well known as kind of a garbage dump. I don't like living in a place that has that reputation. I'd really like to see that changed, and I'd like to be instrumental in doing that in one way or another. I currently volunteer at the Senior Center. I'm a member of the Kelseyville Business Association. I work with the Taylor Observatory. These are all interests of mine, but I really like the zoning aspect.
Hi, I'm John Carlisi. One of the big barriers in Lake County is transportation. And while development costs here are much more reasonable than other counties in the state, transportation, which is an ongoing cost for a business, is a major problem. Would you recommend that as we approach businesses, we go for businesses that are less transportation dependent?
It's a great question. So I think
as opposed to the other questions?
Totally. So sure. In terms of the agriculture, if you do pursue folks or businesses who are on the agricultural supply chain, you probably want to locate them closer to where they could actually take advantage of logistics and not stick them centrally where they'd have to drive a long way out to get anywhere else. So there's that in terms of planning where you want to put types of businesses that may be more transportation dependent than others. But at the same time, even if you don't pursue transportation dependent businesses, if your intention is to move people around the county for multiple reasons, or even just to have ingress and egress in terms of coming from other places for business, not just visiting, but having to go out to do business, the transportation infrastructure is something you're going to have to make an investment in at some point. How you do it and when you do it and the ways you do it, you guys will have to figure out politically. We've heard a lot about the money having to move around to a lot of different things. Those are the things that we can't answer right away, because there's still a lot of community discussions that are necessary. But the more that you can put those businesses closer to major transportation points and don't stick them geographically in the middle of the county, you'll probably be better off, on the margin at least. But don't push them away, especially if they're in the targeted piece.
I moved here to Lake County. I'm originally from the Midwest, and I'm a retired mental health professional. And I just want to make a comment, and then it may lead to a question. But I've been listening closely. I used to work with traumatized veterans, by the way, so I appreciated our veterans standing up and speaking. Here's my comment, just from observation. I'm going to just start with this idea that we've gone through so much change in the last century, and social science is a part of that. I don't know what the future of social science is going to be, but I'm not sure how active or visible it is as part of the future for physical sciences. Because in the physical sciences, and you're talking about lakebed science, which is wonderful, and great. And universities, great. They bring in such good expertise. But you must be aware that there are changes happening. My sense of it, being retired, I'm not in the gist of it right now, at the cutting edge of it, but my sense of it is that from the physics that's taken place, we've seen a real radical change into algorithm thinking. That has an impact on everyone in this room, if you think of it this way from a social scientist's point of view.
Good morning. I have a quick question, and don't want to be insensitive to what happened to the fire victims in Paradise. But I'm wondering, Dr. Eyler, is there opportunity for Lake County to capture perhaps some new residents? Or I'm sure there are a lot of people that lost their businesses. Is it putting the cart before the horse, or are we ready? Or could we put out a message to welcome people to Lake County and to see if there's a way we could generate some new businesses that way as well?
Yeah, there's two ways that come off the top of my head. The first one is if you feel like you're ready to take on new residents and you have places that they want to come in as new residents, certainly getting out there and saying that this keeps you relatively close to where you know, maybe a relatively similar setting. We're welcome, we have open arms for you. The second is actually as Butte County figures out what it's going to do, and some of it will be rebuilt, some of it absolutely will not be, and that's one of the biggest questions going forward. In Santa Rosa, and even here, I think a lot of people foresee continuous sort of slow rebuilding momentum. In Paradise, by the nature of the destruction up there, there's a lot of public policy questioning about whether or not they're going to rebuild at all. But if they do start to rebuild, you see that momentum, Lake County can become a logistics point for movement of people and or materials toward there, where they may not be able to support it as easy because they have to, figure out where they're going to do the space given what's been lost. So there's some of that. You could also be a place for temporary workers that would come in shifts and go up. There's some ways you could partner. Again, reaching out and trying to figure out ways of doing that actually lifts all boats is certainly something to do in this current time. How long lasting that is will depend on how they react. And that's still, no data can provide conclusions as of yet.
Good morning, and I just want to thank everyone for showing the interest to come out today on such a cold day, and I really would like to thank the Workforce Alliance, the County of Lake, and the Lake County EDC for all their effort in yet another, as someone mentioned, another economic report. The encouraging thing today is that whenever I first came here into Lake County 3 years ago, it was because of disaster. And it was not on my to-do list. And I wasn't even sure that I would be able to accomplish what I did accomplish and that I would even want to stay here. It's been 3 years and I made a conscious choice to move to Clearlake. And since that time, it's been just a little bit, maybe a year, I just want to say how much I appreciate their leadership for being positive with a very delicate and very challenging situation. And I have heard all these voices speaking here today, and they all have a very relevant, from the heart, and from experience, the frustrations and the despair. And I want to say that, if you follow what happens in the economy around the world, the country of Greece went through a period of severe austerity. That they're continuing to struggle with. I heard this gentleman over here who talks about cutting his workforce by 2. I hear about this education initiative that's going on in the local college. And I just want to say that you all have the tools that you need right now to come to the table with a coalition where you target those who need to be at the table representing all the different segments of your population here. I see a lot that is not represented here today. I know that there's initiatives that are happening right now at the grassroots level, entrepreneurial opportunities that people are not waiting for the economy to look a certain way. They're not waiting for the county to do a certain thing. They're not waiting, for the makeup and the dress up or whatever. They are out there in the dirt, doing it the hard way, taking baby steps. And I think, we've listened to all of our concerns and the different things that we could target. But I think if you take the economic development people, you put them with the education, the local unified school districts. I'm new somewhat to California and the way things are structured here, but what I've picked up is that if you want to increase your retail customer service or your hospitality customer service, that can be seriously disappointing. Lake County does represent all the best that can be, that has been. I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. But you've got right here the Workforce Alliance and the Economic Development Corporation. And if the County of Lake can come together without dictating, and I'm not saying that they do, I'm just saying that to trust the people that you have represented, not just here, but the ones who are already doing something, and allow them at the table, that has nothing to do with county government, but coming together and doing the hard things, not waiting for the government to tell you what to do. You've all got it in progress, and there are more in this community, some who are in their own disaster response rehabilitation. So thank you, Dr. Eyler, for the way that you've pulled this together in language that can be understood by every community member out there. And I encourage the retail stuff. Let's not be complacent with where we are, and pull together and listen to what others are suggesting and look at how you can trust them to take their projects forward and support them. Thank you.
Thank you. Just briefly, we're going to wrap up here. Supervisor Stahl.
Okay, well, I want to thank everyone as well. You know, we're just briefly. All right, there's an oxymoron here somewhere. I'm not sure where it is, but Rob always points it out for me. You know, I want to thank everyone for what they've done to pull this together, and certainly Dr. Eyler for the way that he's pulled this together. It's just been absolutely amazing. And what has happened here is we've characterized ourselves for what we are. This is the identity of Lake County. We're a tremendously diverse place. From north to south, if you don't find it on the North Shore, you can find it in the South County, you can find it in the cities, you can find it in any small town is a different place, and that is an advantage. You can go to Cobb Mountain and you can go to Snow Mountain, and you will see complete differences, and the fires have actually produced a mosaic of landscape that has changed that as well, and is coming back with a renewal. We can actually look forward to a renewal, a Lake County model for the entire state. And I've heard that, actually, I just returned from San Diego to the California State Association of Counties, and Lake County actually has a lot of advantages that other counties don't have because of the meeting that we're having today, where we can pull all these ideas and everybody together and move forward as one, and with the fact behind us that we are all different, and that's the strength. So with that, we are at 11 o'clock. We appreciate everybody being here, and so this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.